Howdy, y'all. We're here to talk about what's happening and mostly just kind of rant about what's been going on in the news, current issues, and stuff that just bugs us, right? And I am joined here by my wonderful producer, Maddie,
That's me.
and also the lovely hashtag Heathen.
Hey,
And hopefully he's ready. Evans, Faithless Southerner.
I'm ready.
And also Red Vencher.
Hey,
Yay, we got a great panel here and we got a lot to discuss. So I'm just going to dive right in. So this past week, ICE did a horrible thing, right? They went in and they just took a bunch of parents from various places where they were working and didn't even bother to provide any kind of care for the children that were without parents. So basically they went home to nobody, which was, kind of awful. So I'm just going to kind of go over this article real quick. What ICE did and did not do for kids left behind by Mississippi raids. They say, "We are a law enforcement agency, not a social services agency." Yeah. Ooh. So basically adding that advance notice to schools would have ticked off the workers and they would have run. So let's see. This apparently happened at 7 Mississippi food processing plants Wednesday. And they said that the agency said it took some precautions to ease the burden on families, but as one ICE official said, we're a law enforcement agency, so forth, etc. President Donald Trump, of course, spoke to reporters on the White House South Lawn before traveling to New York for a pair of fundraisers. Echoed those concerns when asked why there wasn't a plan in place to take care of the children. Well, the reason is because you got to go in. You can't let anybody know. Otherwise, when you get there, nobody will be there. Which is truly a hot take. But I want people to know that when they come to the United States illegally, they're getting out. Trump added, they're going to be brought out. And this serves as a very good deterrent. So the Mississippi raid swept up of almost 700 workers from 6 plants. Of those detained, 342 were from the Koch Foods and PH Foods facilities in Morton, Mississippi, 252 from Petco plants in Canton, Bay Springs, and Sebastopol, and 86 from Pearl River Foods in Carthage. There was no arrest at the 7th plant because no workers were present. Maybe they got a leak or something. I don't know. But yeah, there were several hundred children, I believe. So over 270 parents were released, while over 300 immigrants remain in custody from the raids, and roughly 270 were given court dates and released within a day. That's still awful. They didn't notify the schools. They didn't notify protective services. They didn't do anything to guarantee the safety of these children. And they're responsible for that, right? So, yeah. What do y'all think of this?
That's horrible. Like, when parents get arrested by police, right? They call Child Protective Services and get the children taken care of, which you can easily do after the arrest. But it's also kind of telling that these people are working class people.
Well, okay, so on this portion, it's like I'm just going to echo a lot of what I've heard is if they're arresting all of these people, why are the business owners not facing the same kinds of arrest?
Mhm.
That is the question, right?
They're the ones that hired these people. And the way, like, one of the things that I've heard is the slimiest thing is that a lot of times companies will call in a raid if they have a lot of employees that are reaching the point where they might get benefits.
Oh
wow.
God.
And so then they get rid of all these employees. Well, then those employees, more often than not, they don't actually get deported. Because, well, maybe in this administration or the last, because there's been a lot of deportations, but even if they do, they come back and then they get hired on at the same company. And the cycle continues.
Well, it is really telling because, like, I mean, at least here you have certain protocols that you have to follow, right? You have to, there's actually a separate form that you have to fill out that proves either working status or citizenship. And if you don't fill that in and turn that in to the responsible party, and you start claiming that person as an employee, you know, start paying them officially and all that jazz, they will fine the crap out of you, whether or not, right? And I mean, because this has happened to companies that I've worked for in the past. They've done new hires, they forgot to fill out the form. It doesn't matter. Even if the person's a citizen afterwards, they still fine you for it. And then on top of that, I wish I could remember what the form name was. On top of that, if it turns up that they're not a citizen, this has happened to former companies that I have too, where people fake their citizenship status or something like that. You get government officials at your door, right? And so, and then, but if you turn up, you know, this is another thing. It's like if you turned up and these people weren't on the books, then they're being paid illegally. So they would still, right? The employer should still face some sort of repercussion.
Definitely.
Yeah.
One of the things I keep hearing brought up is if they do try to hold these companies accountable for hiring illegal workers, then Trump himself would be in hot water because he does it all the time. He's renowned for it.
Oh yeah, he has in the past. I mean, it's been shown that like Mar-a-Lago and stuff hired migrant workers that were undocumented. And
you had Trump bragging about, I mean, that's just good business. You hire cheap workers.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah. These companies are hiring these people because they can hire them at lower than what other people will accept.
Yeah, and with no bathroom breaks if they have.
Well, some companies are that way. Other companies aren't. Like the meat.
It depends.
The meat packing company that I worked at that hired a lot of undocumented workers, even though they try to say they didn't. They got paid the same as everybody else, but most people don't want to take the wage that I took at the time. Yep. It was a very low wage for the type of work that I was doing. And they're not coming in and stealing all kinds of jobs from American people that want them. They're working these jobs. They're paying taxes through their payroll deductions and through their purchases. And it's a situation where, like, I am not a conspiracy theorist. We are going to go into more conspiracies later. But at the same time, it seems like this one was just too convenient to have these massive raids just after the shootings that were all over the news. And then
I'm sorry.
And then these happened and it took the focus off of that.
Good point. What were you gonna add, Red?
I would be surprised if these were moved up from future schedule. I said I wouldn't be surprised if they were moved up because of it. But if they really wanted policy-wise to prevent a lot of illegal immigration, they'd be best to go harder after the companies, because there are several, maybe not in this instance here, but there are several companies that advertise jobs on the other side of the border if they come across illegally. So it's not all that, there. It's like, oh, hey, we got jobs here, come on over, you can do it here. And oh no, why are all the illegals coming? It's that's part of it. And if you want to go after it, it's go after harder on the businesses that are doing it. If you want to get them out instead of this stuff that are already here, these people that are already here.
Yeah, and even when we're talking about these workers, most of them didn't actually cross the border illegally. Most of them came on work visas and overstayed them.
Yep.
Yeah, that's most common.
Yeah.
And it's a common occurrence. And I don't care who you are, like, paperwork sucks. Like, I've put shit off. Like, I once realized that the tags on my vehicle were almost a year overdue.
Oh my God.
I've done that too. You know, whenever I realized?
When a cop pulled you over?
Whenever I hit at a roadblock, soared through flying colors, and then there was blue lights in the back window, and the cop walked up to my window, and he looks at me and he says, "Sir, did you know your tag was expired?" And I went, probably. I haven't done that in a while. And I said, "How bad is it?" And he said, 9 months.
Oh.
And
I said, "I'm probably getting a ticket, aren't I?" You're getting a ticket.
You know what's really bad is, I don't know if it's like this in Alabama, but in Iowa, tags go with your birth date. So,
yes.
So I got stopped and the cop was like, "Sir, you know, your tags are expired." And I was like, "It's only been 6 months, or it's only been almost 8 months since my birthday."
No, ours go with the first letter of your last name.
Oh.
Ours is based off of like when you got the vehicle.
See, in Iowa, you can choose to do it when you got the vehicle, or you can go with your birthday. And most people just go with their birthday because that's the easiest time to remember.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it's the same in Texas. Whenever you get the vehicle and you register the vehicle, that is when.
Yeah.
You have.
This is good too, because I think my tags are due now.
Mine are no.
Do you want to know something funny? I'm sitting here talking about this going, "Oh shit, it's almost August. I got to buy my tags."
We all should check our tags on our vehicles.
Anybody in the chat, go check your tags.
Go check your tags.
Good.
Make sure that you're registered, insured, and good to go.
But seriously though, so this is the thing. You either can promote these people as lazy, good-for-nothing thugs, or they're stealing our jobs.
Look, how dare you bring logic into this?
Which is it? They're
Schrodinger immigrants.
Yeah.
They're both.
It's just ridiculous. Both of those things is ridiculous. Like, the people that the undocumented immigrants that I worked with were some of the hardest working people that I've ever met. They were constantly taking double shifts and working overtime and just constantly at work. And I mentioned that the company I worked with said that they didn't hire a lot, but do you remember when the Swift plant got raided in Iowa? It was big on the news.
Swift.
Yeah, it's Swift. Swift was it was a meat processing plant.
Oh, okay.
And
I was thinking the trucking company.
This was still in the Obama administration, and there was something, I want to say like 400 immigrants that were rounded up. And at that point, the employers actually did get in trouble. And I went to work one day, and I didn't work at Swift. I worked at a totally different meat processor. But I went to work one day, and we always had this sheet of paper on the wall that told you where you were in seniority wise in the company. And one day I was around 550. And then the next day I came in and I was at like 260, and the list was much, much shorter. And yet we were told no one had been fired, but there were all these people that just no longer existed.
Just finished?
Yeah, they were just gone.
Weird.
Yeah, it happens.
So one thing I want to highlight here is, regardless of where you stand on the immigration issue, you got to admit that this was completely botched. They had no preparations in place to take care of the children that were at tender age, like 5 years old and younger. They made absolutely no preparations for these kids. So they completely botched it. They did a lot of harm. And I think moving forward, even if they do these raids, which I don't think they should, me personally, that's my opinion, but if they continue doing raids like this and taking up quote unquote illegals, they need to at least put some kind of safety in place for the children to make sure that they have a guardian there to take care of them. And I'll further that by saying taking these children's parents away from them is a traumatic experience that they will never recover. You'll never be the same once you go through a trauma like that.
Right.
And believe me, I've been through some trauma, and I'm almost 40 years old, and I still haven't gotten over the trauma that I faced because of various abandonment issues. And that is what these children will be facing the rest of their lives, is trying to cope with the trauma that the state put them through. And that right there pisses me off.
And it boggles my mind because right there you're showing on the screen right now that ICE has said they're under no obligation to contact Child Protective Services, which, great, you're under no obligation. But that makes you a really shitty organization.
Yes.
If you're just going to let kids go home to no one.
Exactly.
Like, you're just a group of heartless bastards.
Pretty much.
If that's the case.
That's all ICE is. Look at the concentration camps.
But I mean, they've had situations in the past, like in so Obama did deport tons of people, shit tons, and you always hear people say, "Oh, well, Obama did it too." But during the Obama administration, they were contacting Child Protective Services and getting in contact with the human resources of states before they conducted these raids. Because there are ways that they can do this where they don't tip people off and then they go in and do their job.
The thing is, and what I always bounce back to whenever that's used as though it's some sort of argument, right, is I don't care. Right. I don't like it whenever Obama did it. I don't like it whenever Trump did it. I think that it's inhumane. I think that there are much better ways to deal with these things that don't cause trauma to the children. And not only that, but if you agree with Trump doing it, does that mean that you agree with Obama doing it?
Right.
Like, so now you think that Obama's doing the right thing. Like, whenever somebody pulls out that stupid ass argument, well, Obama did it. Either you're getting somebody to agree that hates Obama with a fervent passion, that they agree with what Obama did,
right,
or it doesn't matter because my ethical system is not based on whether or not my, chosen president candidate is in office. Obama did some really, really, really shitty things.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I condemn him just as much as I do Trump. It's just the amount of really, really, really shitty things under the Trump administration is vastly bigger, right? But it doesn't change. Like, fuck, that's such a stupid argument.
Once again, Evans is here to keep it on point.
What I always like to point out, what's hilarious to me is on Twitter, this happens all the time, where someone will say, well, I didn't see you complaining when Obama was in office. And it's like, well, my Twitter account didn't open until this year, and my old one didn't open until 2016. So you're right.
Like what? Do you follow me around, or is that what?
Right?
Is that what we're expecting people to do? Is just follow everybody around and see what their positions are at various times under various presidents? Like, fuck off! Come on, that's not an argument.
It's not you that they're complaining about. It's just kind of a general thing that they want to pin on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want to push it on you that you must be representative to all these people. And it's just a ridiculous take.
I am Guy Fawkes. See my
Can I mention really quick, before we go any farther in this show, Mrs. Snarky does now have a Streamlabs account. So you can send Streamlabs donations to streamlabs.com/Mrs. Snarky, and we will be able to read them on screen here. I set her up her own Streamlabs that I'm running for her. But yeah, everything works like it does on my channel now. So
my lovely producer. Mwah. And thank you. Yes, send me money. But yeah, that's the thing that really gets me about this is that we've always had, deportations and stuff like that. And at no time did we have this issue.
Yeah, well, okay. I don't want to say at no time, because we also had like,
with the caveat of at this level, right?
I would say that everything put together, yes, we're at a much larger level than we have been in any point in history. Because you can look at other points in history where we ran internment camps.
Right.
You can look at other points in history where we deported huge numbers, which interesting to point out. Guess who promoted asylum and for immigrants?
Reagan.
Yes, Reagan, the golden god of the Republican Party, was all in favor of getting these immigrants and putting them to work, and yeah. I mean, Reagan was kind of shitty in a lot of ways, but in this situation, he had much more heart than the current administration does.
Yeah, and if you're going to go by a historic precedent or whatever, we haven't had anything this bad happen since Andrew Jackson, right? And like, this is Trail of Tears level of bullshit, in my opinion.
I have a hard time going with that.
That's a step too far for me. But
I'm pumping the brakes right there.
Because we had slavery and
well, yeah, it's slavery, but I just mean, like, you're taking people that were here, they had jobs, and you're taking them from their land, from their children, you're incarcerating them, you're traumatizing their kids. I mean, yeah, it's a bit of hyperbole, but holy shit.
I'd say it's really bad, but yeah, I would say that's a bit of an overstep for Andrew Jackson levels.
It's bad though.
Yeah. It is bad.
All right. So, any more comments on this story?
Well, I would just say a further thing on the Reagan thing is, capitalists, especially if you want to go in the, the higher capitalist class and stuff, free movement of people is part of the theory that they want in there too. So they're not going to be all that upset with immigrants coming in and people moving about and stuff. So it's not something what they're thinking. And that's why you don't see, it's a lot of lip service and a lot of this stupid stuff that doesn't really do anything to address the issues.
Agreed. And if we want to go back to what really caused a lot of this nation's issues, it's the idea of trickle-down economics that started. It didn't start with Reagan. People want to say it started with Reagan, but it actually started. It was a economic theory prior to Reagan. Reagan is the one that put it into full force, but there had been cuts prior to that with that in mind. So I do want to point that out, but Reagan did really up it. We went from 70% to 38.9, I think it was.
Yeah, he really pushed it as far as advocating for the very, very wealthy.
Yeah, which, we have a really shitty infrastructure system in our country.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to take a lot of tax dollars.
That's one thing that I'm wondering, not to derail this, but I mean, like, what happened to all those promises that Trump made about infrastructure?
Oh, they were just lies. Like anything that he said that was somewhat progressive, like his huge infrastructure bill, which was like something like $1 trillion, that was a complete lie. And I do want to say you just got your very first Streamlabs donation.
Oh, yay!
It was from, let me pull this up, HK, and they donated $15 and said good night and thank you.
Oh, thank you, HK.
And just to point out to people at home, Mrs. Snarky is trying to raise some funds in order, she has them on her wish list. So if someone wanted to get it from her wish list, a desk and a chair. But if she can't, we're trying to raise funds so that we can get those.
Yes.
Altogether, I think it's like $160 together. So if we can raise that, that would be awesome. But
it would, because I'm uncomfortable and my setup is really bad.
Yes.
But all right. So I guess we can move on to the next story, which I'm excited about.
This is.
My God. So we're just going to play this little clip here.
If everyone else could mute real quick while this is playing.
This is formal impeachment proceedings. We are investigating all the evidence, we're gathering the evidence, and we will, at the conclusion of this, hopefully by the end of the year, vote articles of impeachment to the House floor, or we won't. That's a decision that we'll have to make. But that's exactly the process we're in right now.
Yay!
All right, you can all unmute again, and this isn't really all that surprising to me. Basically, any kind of the investigations that have been going on, even though they haven't called them this, they've been preparing for impeachment.
Oh yeah,
like that's
definitely.
Information gathering and everything like that is building towards impeachment. Now, I'm still of the opinion I don't know if they're going to do it. We're getting so close to a presidential election that I don't know that they would do it, because it's just going to look like a stunt. If we get into 2020 and they do this, it's just going to look like a huge stunt, and I think it could backfire big time.
Well, I don't know. Right at this point, it's just being characterized as, it says here, an impeachment inquiry or an impeachment investigation, which basically they're just seeking documentation and witness testimony to see if there is basis for impeachment, articles of impeachment, and whether there was a high crime or misdemeanor committed. And I think that's good. It's a long process. Right. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we might not see anything really happen for a long time anyway.
Yeah. I mean, if there even were an impeachment, it wouldn't be done by the election. Like, impeachments are long drawn out things.
Yes.
I don't know many people who was Evans alive during the Clinton administration? I don't know.
Yeah, he was.
But
yes, yeah. I was in existence at that point in time.
Do you remember it?
Yes, I do actually.
The impeachment of Clinton was forever.
Yeah.
And it did start with a lot of investigations, just like this. It wasn't just instantly they vote for impeachment. And I've been saying for a long time that you just can't do that. You have to have the investigations in place. Yeah. I still don't know if they're actually going, they might vote for it. It might get sent to the Senate. I don't know what happens in this situation if it gets there.
Yeah, I mean, and it seems like there's having a lot of pushback also from Nancy Pelosi, who is looking at the long game, right? She's being the pragmatist in this and saying, look, this probably just looks like a political move and we got an election going on, yada, yada, yada. And which I get, but at the same time, holy crap, how long? I mean, how much is too much? How long will be too long? We have been going through just virtual hell in this administration, and isn't there still appointments that he has not filled in his administration?
There's still empty ones.
There's tons of them. Yeah.
They're I can't remember the administrations off the top of my head that I've read about, but yeah, they're not functioning very well right now.
No, it's surprising how little something can function when it has no leadership.
Yeah.
Huh.
And hashtag just sent a $5 donation for you, dear. Hopefully this one goes through. I don't know why the last one didn't.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it so much.
No problem.
But yeah, I don't know what all to say here. I can see we're getting close to an election. There is a lot that I'm optimistic about. One of the things that I'm optimistic about is Democrats actually seem like they want to fight this time.
Yeah.
They've actually started calling a duck and calling out Trump for his racism and his buddying up to white nationalists and shit like that. They're actually calling him on this shit.
Yeah.
They refuse to do forever.
Yeah, they're actually saying just outright, hey, this is white nationalism, white supremacy. That is what he stands for. And that's the truth. This, and not to mention all of the obstruction that, has been kind of blatant, in my opinion, that he's engaged in, and also the corruption and the enrichment of himself that he's engaged in, which I think just having that on record, going through the procedure, is worth having.
I don't know if you realize this, Snarky, but the way you have your cursor right now looks like you're groping AOC on screen.
It does.
Yes.
Where's my cursor?
It's not. Why is that? On screen, it looks like there's a hand over AOC. Oh, nope. That's my mouse.
It's yours.
And no one else could see that but me. I was the only one that could see it. I'm like, Snarky, what are you doing? And then it's like, oh, wait a second. That's my mouse.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, you pulled what's his face? The Senator Al Franken.
I did not.
We are in search of a new producer. If anybody has experience,
I'm horrible.
It's so funny that you called me out on something you were doing.
I know. I thought for sure it was you because I've never seen my cursor look like that.
Maddie's really getting into the
Priceless.
spirit of Trumpism. I think is what's going on here.
Yeah, perfect demonstration,
Yeah.
the best. But yeah, there's a whole lot more to it, and it talks about it in the article about Pelosi's position and trying to fight to preserve vulnerable seats in battleground districts where the issue could alienate voters at the polls next year. What is the likelihood of this happening? What do y'all think?
Of it alienating voters?
Yeah, at this point, considering just
Well,
how
Hashtag.
you're going to have it either way, I think, because if you don't start the proceedings, you're going to have people like me a little bit pissed off. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to vote for whoever isn't Trump. But you just feel like they don't care enough and that he could just get away with anything. And if you do the impeachment, then you're going to have the other side that goes, that looks bad or shady or.
I don't know. It seems to me that the battle lines are drawn, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't really, maybe it's just something that I'm totally missing, but this administration doesn't really leave you a midpoint place to be, right? With the amount of polarization that it is that's going on. The people that are going to vote for Trump are going to vote for Trump. The people that are going to vote against Trump are going to vote against Trump. The election's going to be decided on whose base is most energized headed into November, and who can get as many people, who can get the most people to the polls.
Well, and I honestly, on that case, or speaking on that, if I can actually use the English language, I think that the Republicans are going to have a very hard time getting people to the polls. I think it's going to be a huge election. I think there's going to be big numbers, but there were a lot of independents that ended up voting for Trump in the last election that I don't think are going to do it this election. I think that Trump has lost some of his base. I know I was talking to Not Zaphod from the chat on Twitter about how we used to hear people constantly talking about Trump at our places of employment. And it's been over a year since I've heard someone say something that was blatantly pro-Trump.
That's a good sign.
It's another good sign in my mind that he's losing energy. Like, I was worried, like, this whole constant campaign, because Trump has never stopped campaigning, which is absolutely ridiculous. He's burned out a lot of his base, I think. Because you can only promise that you're going to lock her up so many times before people are like, he didn't lock her up.
Yeah.
And you can only promise so many times that you're going to build the wall before people are going, there's no wall there. What's going on?
Yeah. That's... And there, even after the first year, you had hardcore Republicans like Ann Coulter calling him out on the wall. So, I think there is a divide, and that's helpful. That gives me a little bit of hope. But at the same time, if the Democrats don't bring their principles to the stage, if they don't focus on that, if their main policy is, well, we're not Trump, I think it'll be problematic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I agree.
Well, that's like we were talking about the one candidate on the show that I had. His whole platform was, you don't have to settle for Trump.
It's a great platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, tells me a lot about your policy ideas.
That gets me inspired.
Yep.
I don't have to. That's like, you don't have to settle for a shit sandwich. You could put sprinkles on that.
Well, it's pretty bad whenever Vermin Supreme has a more substantial campaign than you do.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
That's a pretty low bar.
Free
at least we all
ponies.
get ponies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
So-
better than Trump.
So another thing that has been brought up by the Nadler is he said that if we decide to report articles of impeachment, they could get to it as soon as late fall. So, I mean, this ball is rolling, y'all.
Yeah. I mean, if the impeachment proceedings are started prior to 2020, I think it looks better than if we get into 2020 and they start them then.
I agree.
Yes.
So if it could happen prior to that, then great.
Yeah. I think this is really bold of Nadler. I think that he's doing the right thing. A lot of people have been, I know I've been screaming from the rooftops about this for a long time. I've had it. What do you think's going to happen, Red?
I don't think they end up impeaching him. I think they're gonna try to play to win the next election that way. So that's what I see. But at some point you gotta stand up and uphold, the things you said you're gonna uphold. You keep letting things slide for now. It's gonna get abused by someone smarter down the line than Trump.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yep.
That's one thing that I think is really important when we're looking at the institutions is why even have these institutions if we're not going to utilize them when there's blatant crime going on? I mean,
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Can I add one last thing to the former point that we were making
yeah, of course.
about things that are promising? So I know several people who voted for Trump because of Mike Pence. And they have soured on Pence as well because he has no backbone. Their whole idea of Pence was he would push back on Trump when Trump tried to do something weird. And that's not happened at all. So
wishful thinking right there.
I work with people who are fully saying that this coming election, they're going to support the libertarian candidate. And I'm all for it. Go for it. Go vote for that libertarian. Do it.
Vermin Supreme, y'all.
Vote for the libertarian, because a vote for a libertarian is a vote against Trump. A vote. See, and this is the thing. We're in a two-party system, people. We're not in with the Electoral College and the way our system works. Third parties cannot win in the current system. So on the right, if someone votes libertarian, they're voting against the Republican. On the left, if someone votes green, they're taking a vote against the Democrats. And that's how that works.
I'm going to push back a little bit on this. It's not a matter of getting a third party necessarily to win when you vote out that stuff. I mean, you look at like the Socialist Party of America and the Bull Moose Party and stuff, the early part of the 20th century and stuff. They weren't winning, but they affected, because they were such a strong voice, they affected change within the party and the platforms and stuff there. So it's not a complete loss to go out and vote third party that way.
No, it's not.
Right. So if you just look at it that way, so you can guide at least future things. So I hope, as much as I don't agree with the libertarian stuff, I much prefer the Republicans become more libertarian than what they are now. I mean, we wouldn't be stuck fighting over these wedge issues, these wedge social issues, whether it's gay marriage or the trans issues and stuff like that. at least maybe we could argue differences in how we enact policy.
Yeah, and that's a good point. But to caveat on that, I mean, if you are living in a swing state like I am, that's really a no-brainer. I mean, you're not going to be able to make a whole lot of change voting third party. And basically, you'd be throwing your vote away or helping the candidate that you don't want to win, usually.
Well, that's the thing. I don't want to say throwing the vote away, because I would encourage people, even if you're going to vote for a third party vote, I want more participation. But you are effectively hurting one of the main candidates and helping one of the others when you vote third party.
Definitely.
That's just a effect of the vote.
And I do want to point out that I appreciate the pushback, because a lot of people say, well, you're just trying to create an echo chamber and stuff like that. And that's not my goal at all. My goal.
As we said, we are looking for a new producer.
And everybody makes mistakes. I definitely make mistakes. I made mistakes in my hyperbole in this very show. And the pushback that I got to that was a good thing. So I encourage it.
Yay. So I know that you have another topic that you wanted to go on to, but do you want to let Red do his topic first?
Sure. What you got for us, Red?
All righty. So this is going to be a bit of a rant, because my Twitter day has been horrible. So if you go to my timeline, you can kind of see what it is. But if you're going to make the claims and stuff, and all of us are atheists here, and I'm sure many of the audience are too. And we want to hold to evidence-based opinions, beliefs, and holding that stuff. Actually bring good evidence to back it up. So I had an exchange. It was kind of a rabbit hole from where I was at. The major exchange I had, because the person I had the major exchange with blocked me or whatever. That's their thing. But arguing about BuzzFeed News, being a trash news source and all this other stuff. And so, when I bring up, hey, they've won awards, they've been nominated for things like the Pulp and the Pulitzer and stuff like that, won all that. Yeah, and so that they say, well, it's trash, it's not a legitimate news source, it's not anything there. And so this was with we're going over some things about their reporting on the Lawrence Krauss situation and other big atheist YouTubers' comments that they left on that about 2 years ago. So they got into it was trash. So the first thing they bring up and say, well, it's not trustworthy, is they brought up multiple audience survey polls. So when they go out and ask people, who do you think is the most trustworthy thing, or what's your thoughts on this news source or anything there, and they presented that as if it was evidence that, hey, these are an untrustworthy source, anything like that. And it's like, that doesn't support that. That doesn't, a big issue with BuzzFeed News in particular is that until about a year ago, it was still on BuzzFeed proper. So it's easy to mix up the news division that does quality work. There are some issues that have come up, but generally does quality work with their news reporting, with the listicles, the viral video content stuff that's on the site there. And so, it doesn't mean that the news source is unreliable. They get their facts wrong. They do real bad things because other people think that's what they do, right? So that was one of the ones they harped on, which just was driving me insane. It's like, you won't accept that kind of argument from a religious person or a creationist, if you want to get more specific, for the religious people in the audience that are on the side against like creation and stuff like that. That kind of source you wouldn't accept. It's fallacious as hell logically. It's everything against that you say you support, and so just really bugging me today. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are.
Yeah, that bugs me too.
That's
the double.
Yeah.
double standards. I mean, and I see that happen a lot, a whole lot, for a community that considers itself skeptical and rational and all this other stuff. The standard that they apply to their own quote unquote community, or friends rather, is totally different than the standard that they hold for the outgroup, or theist, or creationist, or whatever you want to categorize them as. So,
well, and I mean that's the situation with a lot of the splits that have occurred in the community over the years, is people going, hey, we're holding these people to this standard, why aren't we holding ourselves to that standard as well? And it's been an ongoing issue, and it is ridiculous. I know the conversation that Red's talking about, and one of the comments that was made was, why are you bringing up stuff that happened over 2 years ago? And it's like, well, because you didn't own it then, and you're still not owning it, and you're trying to pretend that nothing bad has ever happened, that you've never made these takes.
Well, and that wasn't really my big point in bringing it up. I brought it up because it's emblematic of a trend, and it's something where this particular creator, when they any criticism comes around. So you guys remember the Harris People's Walner appearance of Kevin Logan, Logan's channel a month ago or something now, talking about the ACA stuff. And he has a tweet right on there saying it's hollow vitriolic slander. They're going low. We're going to go high, and it's the kind of any kind of this criticism. It's, hey, these are bad people. They're smearing me. In the example of stuff, there was like BuzzFeed's yellow journalism. One of the alleged victims is a professional victim. It's a hit piece, it's a smear piece, it's sensational, and it's, it's like, I'm just here trying to reserve judgment from all this other stuff. And it's like, and it was just a consistent thing that I'd been seeing on his Twitter, and Twitter, given the character limits, isn't very big. And it's like, it became such a pattern. And, I remembered when I originally saw that, when that report came out last February, and it's like, man, he made some comments in there. I'm going to go look and see if they're still there, and if there's bad as I think they were, or I remember it. And they were pretty bad. And apparently it's I'm holding on to these for 2 years to smear them, and it's like, that's not what it is. I mean, your original comment that I replied to was saying, hey, you're crying wolf by calling me, who does things for like the LGBT community, or different things, you're calling me a transphobe, or you're calling me a misogynist or sexist and stuff like that, or any of this other stuff. And it's like, you're crying wolf, I'm not those things. Like, well, maybe there's some issues that are being pointed out, and that's why you're getting called that.
Mm-hmm.
And
maybe
so
you should own up to them and move on.
Maybe.
And be able to self-reflect too. Like, if multiple people are saying something about you, at least sit there and think, okay, well, is there a possibility that something I have said or done could be pointing them in that direction? If the answer is yes, then corrective measures need to be taken.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think it's concerning, just the general trend, right? Because it's played out over this thread very concisely. Is you kind of have the Trump take on criticism, right? You get criticized, you cry victim, and you discredit the people that are trying to go after you. And you say, well, no, I am the greatest ally. I'm not a racist. I'm not sexist. I support the LGBT community, and all these people out here, they're just attacking me. And all of their sources are uncredible, and it's the fake news, fake journalism. You have people bringing BuzzFeed into it as though it's not a reputable news source, without actually doing the due diligence to check the articles. You're just immediately writing it off and playing this hero worship game. It's the same thing that we see. And what's most concerning about it is that this game is being played by people who, at least on the face, pretend to be rational, reasonable people that want to adhere to truth and are evidence-based. This is just not the case.
Yeah, it's definitely, and it seems like moving the goalpost too, because when somebody like that, says, "Oh, you're after me, or you're doing something nefarious, or you're lying," and then you prove it to them, and they just immediately go, "No, you're just saving this for," and they continue that narrative. It's
Well, and on this, I have another point to make that goes along with what Snarky was saying. I have to take a drink of my Kool-Aid first.
Kool-Aid.
don't drink
so,
it.
One of the common tactics that this person does is we'll make a statement, you counter it with actual physical evidence, and then they block you and restart the whole thing in another thread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's almost as if they're projecting and they're doing the very thing to you that they accused you of doing.
I know. I hope that people warn these people about echo chambers and shunning other people.
Oh, yeah.
It's horrifying.
Well,
I would, but I'm blocked.
Yeah.
I'm proudly blocked too.
Hold on, before anybody else talks, I got to take another drink of my Kool-Aid.
And I just want to say that it's certain people that are doing this.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a reference to my video, and I laughed and I pointed out in my video. The person that that person was trying to defend, literally advocating for the type of things that they were bitching about the other person wasn't doing, or was bad. You can't do that. So if you can't, so that they're like, no, it can't, it's not all peace and love if you're not going to stand up, to the people that are going to do these things to you, then nothing's going to get done. Oh, but this person over here is standing up for certain things, and they're destroying the community. They're creating unnecessary division. They're creating more bigots and stuff against them. So they're hurting their own cause. They're the problem here. It's like, it's simple stuff like that, and I'll say the big YouTuber made other comments and will trash on people for what he perceives as not doing enough calling out against injustices in Muslim communities and stuff, especially Muslim nations with the hijab and stuff like that. So he'll have no problem calling what he sees as anything there, but any kind of criticism that, and I'm not saying they're the same. I'm not, because unfortunately he doesn't back up who he says there. It's kind of all general statements about different people, general statement here, and it's never very clear. So it looks good to his audience, not to anybody else. So the other criticisms that are levied, if you take what I brought up last night and what's been going on over the day, or some of the other people that hopped in with criticisms and stuff, we're laying out why we think this is an issue, and it's nope. So he'll see it the same in his case, or what he thinks is wrong. It's fine to call out everybody else in the community for not standing up for Muslim women and stuff with the hijab, and or chastising Muslim women in the West for kind of holding up the hijab as a feminist symbol, kind of thing. And I don't know. There's just a disconnect between what he'll attack, what he'll defend, and how he does it is, just not consistent, or what I see is honest way of going about it.
And that's, I mean, that's totally what it is. It's a dishonest way of going about this whole thing. Either you hold all people to a certain standard, or you don't. And if you don't, then you're picking and choosing. And why should we look at these people as being ethical standards for anyone if they're wishy-washy with the things that they actually expect people to hold up? I mean, bravo
and
to
there's
you
not
for doing it.
and I've said this, I haven't mentioned, there's not like there aren't critiques of things. We had the certain people video or whatever I responded to. It's not like there aren't critiques for things that you can make, but when the critiques you're making aren't reflective of what's actually going on, it's a bad look.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like, man, we're supposed to be behind this, we support this, we advocate this kind of thing, and then when you see it's kind of or disconnect them, cognitive distance a little bit.
It seems
when you
like.
said,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'm finished.
I was just gonna say, it seems like there's a lack of authentic presentation, because you can't say that you hold these values and then do things that go against those values and try to shut people up that are advocating those values and are doing so at their own peril. Because what tends to happen in the community is, if you say something that's against the group, or if you critique the group in any way, you get dogpiled on. You get all these hero worshipers that do they do all kinds of logical gymnastics just to make it look like you're the bad one.
The way it works is you'll have a couple of people from the community who will come in and start bashing you. And they will generally quote tweet you after a bit. Which, quote tweeting in the middle of a conversation is just bullshit.
Yes.
And what that does is then it sends all of their followers after you. And so you do end up being dogpiled. And it sucks, but it's it's a tactic that they do, and they do it consistently.
Yeah. I've had some funny interactions with going that way, but I know I saw Evans had a bit of that today on Twitter, but
yeah, then the person deletes the OP because they realize they were wrong and all of the context is lost.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I think that they did see what the issue was and how they were being inappropriate. So
and then the competent thing to do is to go, oops, I fucked up, and delete everything associated with that thing, or make another tweet that says, oops, I fucked up, here you go. Not leave these mid quote tweets up where it looks like you're dunking on somebody.
True.
And then they can't even go back and check what the original context, the OP that everybody's talking about in these damn threads.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've got nothing for it. Like, you can play like you're a nice guy all you want to, but good people don't do that in the first fucking place.
No, I'm with Evans on that. I agree.
Yarg.
Yeah, like I have my approaches, I guess it's different, and it's kind of a failure, really, because I give way too much benefit of the doubt to people, and oftentimes that leaves me in a position where I'm just crushed.
Yep.
But I still do it.
Same.
Yeah,
so I can't break that. So
I give that, and I try to be as charitable as possible in my things, but sometimes there's not much. The charitable explanation makes said person look a heck of a lot worse than just going with what's probably the case. I've had people in these kind of threads that will say something, and I was like, well, the charitable interpretation of that is that you don't understand what I'm saying, right? But I hold you in a high enough regard for your intellect and kind of the stuff you do that's probably not the case. So the other option is you're being dishonest about something here, and they don't like it. But and with the quote tweet stuff, my funny thing, and I think Evans was a part of this too, but there was a couple weeks where Atheist Twitter thought I was a creationist because of someone quote tweeted something I said, and I was getting dogpiled on all that stuff there.
Well, that happens all the time.
That's happened to me at least 5 times in the past month, I'm sure.
That's basically.
So I just laugh. I have fun with the people that clearly have no clue what's going on.
Basically, anytime you expect an atheist to know more than just the words logic and reason and justification and things like that, you're a theist. That's how it works.
Obviously. I mean, I'm an apologist, so.
Oh yeah.
True.
Oh, I've been called an apologist. I've been called a cisphobe.
I don't.
Well, I mean, I agree with that one.
Only with you.
Your anti-cis rhetoric towards me is
It is true.
It's just because you
Yeah.
flaunt it all
I just-
around. You're
Here,
disgusting with your cisness.
I'm
I
rubbing
can't-
my cisness on the screen.
yeah.
None of that will be tolerated here, y'all. I'm just...
Look, I mean, who will think about the straight white man is what I
Right?
want to know.
So absolutely oppressed.
Yeah.
Oppressed.
Definitely the most oppressed people on earth.
Oh,
In a poll answered only by Noel Plum.
oh my god.
Well, I would like to point out that in even this bears out in the data, because even in Maddie's recent poll, it was the straight white man that was at the bottom.
That's true.
Oh.
Evidence.
Yep.
But the cis female one.
So, anybody got any other topics that are just really grinding their gears at the moment, or?
Well, I think I should mention once more that Snarky does now have a Streamlabs account, streamlabs.com/Mrs. Snarky. She is trying to raise money for a desk and a chair. So we have currently raised about $25. So we're getting there, but we need, I think it's about $130 more, somewhere around there, 120, 130. I'm an accountant, but I can't do math.
You should have made a spreadsheet for it.
I should have.
Yeah, if you had a spreadsheet, you'd be on point.
I should have made a goal. I could have just made a goal and had been on screen all the time.
Oh my god, really?
We are looking for a new producer, just in case anybody's joined since the last time that I plugged that.
Yes, please help. But yeah, I wanted to highlight something that happened earlier today. I don't know if, I mean, it was Evans that brought it to my attention, but you know what I'm talking about?
I'm
A thing that happened on Twitter. That
happens on Twitter every day, though.
So, okay, somebody posted a tweet about how they had prayed and
yeah.
Yep.
And the doctors had screened their dad and they were cancer free, and thank you Jesus, right? Which is like, you know, to me, I see that as like a benign thing, because it's just somebody being happy that their dad's not going to die. So I think it's really inappropriate for atheists to go after this person, to quote tweet them and to say, well, you know, what's your justification? And what about all the other people that died of cancer? And it's not about you. It's about them and their lives and their dad and how they're feeling at that moment. And I just don't think that it's a good look. I don't think that is the right thing to do. I think it's kind of a jerky thing to do. And I just wanted to express that because it seems to be something that happens a lot.
Well,
So,
at least you got through to them, you know.
I was just a dick.
But you weren't. Like, you were very frank, you were very honest. And, you know, that one person kept going with me even after the original tweet was removed. And they just, like, you try to point it out to them that all you need is like a little bit of empathy to see, like, okay, if you want to bring up that topic, right? You want to bring up that millions of people a day pray to God to be saved from whatever. Then you want to say, well, what about those whose prayers aren't answered? You know, what do you think of that? Go ahead and bring that up, but don't tag the frickin' person who just found out his dad is free of cancer.
Right. Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, and it's very, you know, we'll complain, and one of the big complaints from the atheist community about religious folks is bringing that stuff in where it doesn't matter. So you get, you know, thinking up through it, you know, it'd be kind of the stuff around SJ and Scorsifer's death.
Yeah.
Remember
Same
heard
thing.
something that's like, you know, the guy just finally decided, hey, he's gonna end his life because he can't deal with the pain anymore, you know, the chronic illness. and you're coming in trying to get them to convert to Christianity and not give up, not do this stuff, all this other thing for your religious stuff. And, that'll get criticized by the atheist community. Many of the same ones that did what they did today hopped on that thread telling that, well, what about the people that didn't make it, right?
Right.
The thing about it is, and this is what, I wish that Twitter had capabilities for a little longer form discussion, or that some of these people would like, let's have a hangout about this. Because it's not hard for theists to justify unanswered prayers. That's not a hard thing to do, right? Any Christian around there that's even remotely reasonably confident in their faith has justifications for unanswered prayers, right? And we can talk about that those justifications aren't right, and that, it doesn't matter the outcome, you can justify it, et cetera, et cetera. But popping in on somebody's thread whenever they believe that God has done something for them to go, well, actually, God didn't do anything for you because he didn't do anything for this person over there, you just look like an ass.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You're not convincing anybody of anything, right? That person is currently celebrating what they believe that their God did. And you're coming in there going, well, no, he actually didn't. Just like if a Christian popped into your thread and you said, look, the cancer treatment worked for me, my cancer's in remission, and a Christian popped in the thread and said it wasn't the treatment, it was Jesus that healed you, you're not going to be like, oh, fuck, you know what? It was Jesus. Holy shit. Thank you, Lord.
It's
you're gonna go, what is this jackass doing in my thread? Enforcing their worldview on my, celebratory post.
Yeah.
It was the exact same thing as the comment I got on my channel last night. Where someone got on my channel commented, have you heard of hell? Jesus loves you and wants you to ask for forgiveness. You need to get a Bible and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that never works. And it's not going to work on that. You have just helped that person dig deeper into their faith.
Exactly.
By attacking them at a time they're like, hey, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like, maybe this is my elitist mentality coming out or something like that. But I think that maybe if your justification for being an atheist is, well, God didn't answer one of my prayers, you may need to think a little harder about it. Right? Because that's not one of the ways that I would ever justify my position as an atheist. I wouldn't go, well, inconsistent prayer results. There it is. Like that. That's such a I don't know. It's a dumb point to begin with, because any Christian, right? Any Christian that's remotely decently seated in their faith is going to be able to knock down that, well, God, why does God answer some prayers and not others? Like, you're going to there's a multitude of answers, right? Mm-hmm. And they're perfectly reasonable whenever you're in that mindset. That's not an argument that's going to convince somebody. Also, right? Now, it may convince them down the road whenever, a prayer goes unanswered and they have something tragic happen in their life, and then they look back on it and go, oh, but that's the experience that brought it about, not the argument itself.
Right.
Exactly.
On top of this would have been a perfectly fine thread if they hadn't quote tweeted.
Yeah,
if they had gone,
I said.
Yeah, like if they had just gone and said, I saw this post, it really bothered me. Someone thanked God for saving their father from cancer. My mother died and she prayed all the time. So why does God save some people but not others? If it had been a subtweet, that would have been fine, because I'm almost guaranteeing that person wasn't following the person we're talking about.
No way.
That would have been fine. But when you attack, it's just garbage.
Yeah, it just seems like you're trying to score points.
Yeah.
It makes you look like you're an insecure jerk, in my opinion. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. There is a thing called the backfire effect, which has been mentioned, right? They're just going to think, oh, this is Satan trying to test me, and just dig in their heels. That's all that's going to accomplish. And maybe you'll get some atheists going, yeah, ooh, I need me some of that confirmation of my own security and intellect and stuff. And it's ridiculous. it just shows that, atheists have the same sort of cognitive traps, and they fall into them just as much as anyone else.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
it's definitely easy to fall into.
oh yeah.
But I did want to mention, Frustrated said Maddie never knew any of the stuff before he got on YouTube. He learned about heaven, hell, and Jesus only after he got on YouTube. And I actually told them that in the comment section. I was like, oh, this hell place seems really scary. I'm glad that I never learned about this. I never learned about this in my 30 years as a Christian, and 10 of which I was a pastor of a Pentecostal church, and they thought I was being serious. And kind of ruined the joke when they thought I was being actually serious. Like,
Okay.
oh, I think all Christians should know about hell.
Oh my God.
Like, okay, I'm done here.
Oh. Well, I feel better now that I've vented.
Yes.
Any more venting that needs to occur here?
I've been venting this whole time. We had Subway for lunch, and it's just been a vent.
I'm just
Not quite the same venting.
I'm just glad I'm in a different room right now. This is my escape.
I'm glad I'm in a different state.
It'll reach you.
Oh, there's no escaping it.
When you have a storm in a couple days, it's because of the hot gas that I'm passing right now getting into the atmosphere.
It's like the butterfly effect, but it's the ass effect.
It is. If a butterfly flapping can cause a hurricane, then one of my farts can cause just any kind of shit.
I mean, I can't argue with that logic.
Yeah.
I can't imagine someone named Frustrated Atheist has venting. I just can't imagine that.
No, they seem like a totally laid back, unfrustrated person.
Yeah, just totally chill. Totally chill.
So we're ready to go on to the meaty topic?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. There's this one. Now, this morning I woke up and one of the first things that Maddie said was, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. I went, no, he didn't.
Hold on. I don't have my tinfoil hat, but I think this will work just as well.
Yeah, just say actually a lot.
My
Okay?
lady.
Actually. So apparently, Jeffrey Epstein, or Epstein, whatever you want to call him, died. He was, let's see. So he was at a federal prison, the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Lower Manhattan, and they had a suicide prevention program designed for inmates who are at risk of taking their own lives. After an apparent attempt 3 weeks ago, Jeffrey, the financier who was at the facility awaiting trial on charges he was sexually abused dozens of girls, was a prime candidate. Yet Mr. Epstein, 66, was not on suicide watch when he hanged himself, and his body was found in his cell early on Saturday morning, raising questions about the steps officials took after the first incident to keep him from harming himself. Attorney General William P. Barr said in a statement that he had just asked the Inspector General for the Justice Department to open an investigation into the circumstances of Epstein's death. The Federal Bureau of Prisons did not immediately respond, but one federal prison official with knowledge of the incident said Mr. Epstein had been taken off a suicide watch a few days ago and was being held alone in a cell in a special housing unit. So, yeah. And this has sparked a lot of conspiracies.
Both right and left.
Yeah, it's really fun. I guess I could go to Twitter and...
So, I mean, like, I am not conspiracy minded. I just went dark because Snarky went to Twitter and in dark mode and it took out part of my light. But no, I'm not conspiracy minded. And I woke up this morning and saw it. And the first thing I said to Evans was, conspiracies are going to be in full force.
Yep.
Yeah. Can we go back to 30 to 50 feral hogs?
I actually said, can we go back to 30 to 50 feral hogs being the only thing I see on my...
And it's bad whenever Maddie would rather memes.
That's right. You know, when you're scrolling Twitter like that, you could come across porn. So you probably should use bookmarks in the future.
Yeah, I probably should.
So we probably shouldn't even just scroll Twitter like that.
Well, I've seen other.
Well, it's under Epstein murder.
Okay, yeah. But okay, so for this, I actually do have a slight deal of kind of expertise in this, because I was a correctional officer, and I did have someone commit suicide on my wing at one point, and there was no apathy involved at the time. The person committed suicide in a way that it looked like they were sitting and reading a book on their bunk. They were found like an hour later when we did count. And that's oftentimes when they're going to be found, because it takes about 5 minutes for someone to strangle themselves by hanging. Most correctional facilities do counts about once an hour. And this was a maximum security facility. And he was the only one in his cell at the time. And so they probably do walk the wings and do cell checks throughout that hour. But even then, there's plenty of time between counts for someone to take that action. And it's not uncommon for someone to commit suicide, even if they're on suicide watch, which he wasn't.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people don't seem to know that he was taken off of suicide watch.
And even if he was, we do not have any other information other than the fact that he's been reported as having committed suicide. That's all the information we have.
Well, I found a pretty good tweet here. This one says that Jeffery Epstein hanged himself in federal prison under the watch DOJ head Bill Barr. Barr was hired to protect Trump. Dead Epstein can't finger Trump. The Russian bot army pumped out the Clinton conspiracy. Coincidence? Oh my God.
Yeah. So on one side, it's Trump killed him because he was going to rat on Trump, and on the other side, it's Clinton killed him because he was going to rat on Bill.
Yeah, it's this.
Pretty much, most people have so many people have taken a side on this, and there's so little information that's been released. This is a big sign of how easy it is to fall into conspiracy mindsets.
Well, I mean, I'm going to push forward a third scenario here. Right.
Oh.
See, you have those pictures floating around of Trump being all chummy with the Clintons. I think it was a joint operation.
Ooh.
Oh.
I think it was both.
Could be.
Well, I mean, as this lovely Twitter person says, I don't care who you are, Republican or Democrat, nobody has 56 dead, quote unquote, friends.
Well, I think once you get to the Clintons' age, probably most people do.
Yeah.
That's just kind of dumb. That's not a good take.
No. That's an awful take.
None of them are.
Are any of them good?
That's what I mean, none of them are.
Mine was. I think that mine is definitely the truth.
Oh my God.
That one's clever. I have to say that one is clever.
But here's the take that I want to actually put forward. You have a man who had built his entire life on being tremendously wealthy, and due to that wealth being completely above the law. He had people on both sides of the aisle that he had evidence on in compromising situations, in having sex with underage people. Not just having sex, it's raping underage women.
Yeah.
And he felt like he was completely above the law. So once he's arrested and he realizes that he is never going to get out of prison, that type of person is more than likely going to take these actions. Especially if they know that everything is going to be coming out soon. And information came out, I believe it was last night, on this case.
Yes.
Yeah, go
ahead.
So, I mean, it's not a big jump to say this guy had every motivation to end his life.
Oh, easily. Absolutely. Like you said, everything was taken away. Everything.
And yes,
And you can have even just one area, right? Like for me, it's health issues. Have I been pushed to suicidal ideations? Yes. And that's just one thing in my life that is causing problems. So can you imagine just having your entire life taken away like that?
yeah, that's the case. And I do want to say, I use the term underage women, and I do actually, I'm sorry for that. They raped children.
Yeah,
They
they were
raped kids.
children. Mm.
No question about that. This was a system of child rape, and it's disgusting. And yeah, even I fall into the terms that are used in the media a lot. But yeah, it was rape of children.
Mm.
Straight up, and these rich people think that they could get away with it.
You just got
Well, and
really quiet,
sometimes they
Snarky.
do. That's the problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he did for a long time.
Well, he
Mhm.
did recently. I mean, this wasn't the
Yeah.
first time in the last few years that he's been picked up on this. He got an absurd plea deal and got out of it, and they only managed to nab him on other charges. Right. So, I mean, it's definitely understandable why he would take his own life. It's kind of, I think that should be the first thing that we jump to.
Yeah, and it's just
before we jump to all this other crazy Clinton body count stuff.
Oh yeah, and the thing we should be jumping to is by killing himself, it's robbed these people of their day in court.
Mhm.
yes.
To
Yes.
face their accuser.
Yep.
That's the thing that really gets me is this man, this criminal, okay? And I'm sorry, I don't care if it's alleged or whatever. I think he did it. There's no way that he's been accused of this by so many people for so many years and this not been a thing. He has escaped and evaded justice. And that is what really pisses me off about this is you have a lot of young women who are traumatized who will never get that closure that they so desperately need and deserve. And that to me is just atrocious. I can't even. And a lot of these people are jumping to this whole conspiracy theory thing when you don't even need it. There's absolutely no need for a conspiracy theory. Like, I don't even get it. Like,
well, the thing is, the information is already found. Like, they already have the information that they needed.
Right.
It's going to still come out because these people are still going to have a case against his estate. They just won't be able to face the accuser.
Yeah, see, but there's something cathartic about facing your accuser.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And they should fucking rot in jail. Like I don't think they should get to get a way out of this without retribution. Well, not retribution, but like some sort of due process. I don't know what I want to call it. I'm not sure the word I'm looking for here, but something for those victims. Something.
Yeah, I know. I totally understand that there's a big difference between the civil case that's going to happen and actually facing this person in court. Mm-hmm. They still will be able to, like, okay, it was just said, they're still going to be able to tell their story. There are going to be books written on this. This information is going to come out. This information's already out. Like, we've known for 20 plus years that this has been going on. This is not a case where we're like, well, did it actually happen? No, it fucking happened. We know that this has happened.
Oh yeah. And to hell with those people who are inevitably going to come out and say that these women are lying just to get a book deal. Fuck y'all.
Yeah, fuck that.
Like,
and,
seriously.
To address something in the chat, now it was said just a little bit ago that my belief that it was just a suicide is perfectly logical and possible, but it's also logical and possible that really wealthy people had him killed because they didn't want him to be exposed. While that's possible, if we're going to go with Occam's razor and go with the more likely scenario, that's going to take a whole lot more effort,
Mhm.
and it doesn't seem as probable.
Yeah, and plus
while
too, if
it's-
the information is already out there, then killing Epstein wouldn't do anything.
Yeah,
Like-
if the information's already out there, it's already out. It's out. And if that were the case, they would be going after these women who are speaking, and they would be the ones that are getting attacked and taken out.
And you know, looking back at all the stuff that happened with the Trump allegations and all the threats that he sent to women that came out and spoke about the assaults that they suffered under him, I mean, it's highly plausible that these women are already being attacked and speaking up anyway. So,
And yes, Krauss defended Epstein. So did Steven Pinker.
mhm.
So there's been many people that have come out and said that this guy, he's a great guy. I've never seen him do anything bad, except for they probably say that after doing something bad with him.
Who knows? I mean, it's really difficult to tell what people's motivations are. I mean, a lot of it could just be simple hero worship. You got a lot of people still defending Krauss and still defending.
It's not hero worship with
Yeah.
Epstein. He was giving out large sums of money.
Well, I mean, in terms of the
Whatever, $1
people,
million to
I mean,
Krauss.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the defenders of like Krauss and Pinker and the people that were obviously friends with Epstein and came out and defended him and stuff like that. I think that there are a lot of people that are defending them online. I've seen them do it just because I admire Krauss and I admire Pinker. Therefore, they must be completely innocent. And that is just ridiculous, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Well, at least you can hold on to Dennett coming out and
Yeah.
oh God.
fence there. If you saw that on Twitter, they had a picture of him on one of Epstein's planes.
Dennett?
Oh, really?
Pinker, what? Yeah, Dennett.
I
He
knew
said
Pinker
we were flown out to a conference back whatever it was, 2002, 2003, and said, basically said, I stand with the victims and stuff. It was just like a wealthy philanthropist offered to fly us out, and I stand with the victims. So,
Well, I mean, it's good that he said he stands with the victims. It's still like it's not a good take.
I'm shocked.
Like but I understand this.
When
like
that
you would
happened,
also do
he
this.
He was a big science and education philanthropist, funding all sorts.
Yeah,
of
he's
stuff, so
funded so many
it's
research
so many-
projects.
Well-
It blurs the line. You have to, I mean, especially whenever I'm looking at these things, you have to look at the statements that came out after the fact, right? And the timelines in which it happened, and the timelines that Epstein was really exposed as that it became common-ish knowledge that he was doing these things. Because before, if you didn't know about it, you would just think this is a wealthy philanthropist, finance guy who has a penchant for backing cool science projects.
Yeah.
Right.
And that there is a case to be said for there were probably people that he flew on his planes and gave money to that was not involved, but
Right.
he could still use them as fall people if other people got out of line.
See, what I'm thinking is that there might have been, there's a whole circle, right, of quote unquote intellectuals or actual legit intellectuals who were in this circle and are in some way associated with him. So, I mean, I'm going to have to look into this, but I'm not going to make any assumptions right now.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
just-
I haven't seen the thing when it comes to Dennett, so I don't know all the information, but
Right.
I'll look into it. And
It's still like, wow. What?
yeah, it definitely doesn't look good if you were on a plane.
Well, I mean, he was in it with I think the picture and stuff with him on the flight was with Pinker and Krauss. I think we're in that one too. There was somebody else.
Yeah, but they were all buddies. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to have to look into
Or excuse me,
it.
Dawkins was on there, not Krauss.
Oh, Dawkins.
Was on the flight. Yeah.
Well,
I
that's
don't
not
recognize
much.
the other ones.
That's not much better, really.
Well, and I was going to say that there are a lot of wealthy people that play both sides.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry. So that anything that happens, they have people that will support them from both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is a disgusting thing. And like, if it comes out later that someone actually did off him or something, whatever, it doesn't really change the fact that the real victims here are the children.
Yeah.
That were tortured and raped by this monster as well as his friends.
Yep.
And it doesn't do anything for the trauma.
No,
either.
It doesn't.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's, I guess, a great note to end on, huh?
Sorry.
But yeah, I want to thank each and every one of you on my panel for being here with me to discuss this stuff. I know some of it was hard, difficult to talk about. Definitely go and subscribe to everyone here. If y'all want to take a moment to shill out your channels, that would be great.
I'm Maddie from Objectively Subjective. Earlier today, I thought I was going to be Maddie from Subjectively Objective. That was the story I was going to tell. Can I tell a real quick story?
Nope.
So,
yeah.
real quickly, I deleted the Godless Iowan channel today. And what you don't know is when you delete a channel on YouTube, it logs you out of all of your channels for 15 minutes. And it just displays on the screen, YouTube is busy deleting your data. So my brain went, oh my fucking God, I've deleted everything. And I panicked for like 15 minutes, and then I was finally able to get back in.
Wait, what is your like tagline? Isn't it "Don't panic"?
It is "Don't panic," but I was panicked. I was like, "Oh shit! Oh God, no!"
Maddie was thinking, "It's not time to nuke this channel yet.
It's not time yet.
1,000 subs,
but
once I get to 4,000, I can nuke it."
Once I was able to actually get logged in and see that all of my content was still there, my panic went away, and we went to Subway, and it was delicious. But
eat fresh.
That's good to know. So if you ever think about deleting an old channel, maybe you won't panic like I did.
And you might eat fresh, but the smell is not so fresh after.
No.
So, Evans, did you want to shill your channel?
Hey, I didn't even actually shill my channel.
Yeah, Maddie, show your channel.
Come and subscribe to my channel. I'm Maddie of Objectively Subjective. I do the stuff on the YouTube. I release a lot of content. I actually have too much content, and I'm trying to get it all released so that I can slow my releases down a bit. But I do Omniscient Skeptic. I do Godless Iowan videos on my new channel. And On Our Last Nerve on Friday nights at 7 p.m. with hashtag and Evans and Snarky. And all kinds of other stuff. So come and subscribe to me because I am a shill. And I need it.
Yeah. Okay, now it's time for Evans to shill.
So my channel's Faithless Southerner on YouTube. Go subscribe. It's going to be mainly to deal with living life after deconversion. So after you become an atheist, what's next for us good naturalists? So yeah, go subscribe.
And hashtag?
Hey, I'm hashtag Heathen. I have my own channel as well as the Friday night shows over on Objectively Subjective, where I bring really weird and sometimes really gross stories. Sometimes heartwarming, though. Sometimes.
But always wonderful.
But I am writing a script right now for one of the character bits that I'm going to be doing. That'll probably be the next thing that comes out, so look for that.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah. All right, so Red?
Yeah, Red Vencher. I have a channel, same name. right now I got one video on there. It's a response video. Kind of talked a little bit about it tonight. I got one coming up here in the next couple of days. Get some final touches on it, covering the whole female Ninja Turtle thing that was about a few weeks back.
Ooh.
I'm slow, but I'm slow, but oh well. And then I got a couple other things in the works too. I got a no bullshit response coming up.
Oh.
I'm just talking about the. I don't know if you paid any attention to the Sanders $15 an hour thing in the campaign.
Oh yeah,
that came up. Yeah.
Oh wow.
If you see the video, it's really bad. I mean, it's it's one of
Well, it's
really
no bullshit, so
like,
of course it's bad.
well,
Yeah.
he's and I if I'm going to shill anything on if you want to get under see the story behind no bullshit, there's a channel that doesn't do any content anymore, but one of their last videos they put out was on no bullshit's history, and you get to see all the fun stuff and see that he's just a trend hopper on YouTube. So before he started no bullshit, he had a channel called the Brooks Show, and early in the Brooks Show was very if you remember equals 3.
Yeah.
From YouTube, yeah. So it was very equals 3, and then by the end he was doing Cinema Sins knockoffs at the end, and then when his channel was dying, he kind of hopped over onto the anti-SJW train. But you can go in his equals 3's days and see things that he wouldn't be caught dead saying to his conservative audience now.
Oh. Geez.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he did the rendition of what is it, Bitch from South Park movie with
oh yeah.
gals. Yeah, what was the gal's name that denied the gay marriage certificates?
Kim Davis.
Yeah, Kim.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kim Davis. Yeah, so he's got a whole video, basically, parody of that song, calling her a bitch for not issuing gay marriage license.
What?
Yeah,
Oh,
super
wow.
liberal kind of thing on there with his now boomer conservative audience.
Wow.
He's built. Yeah. So he's not someone that believes a goddamn thing he says.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are just grifters. Just from experience and things that they say and stuff like that. They'll just say anything to get $1, right?
Well, I think there are some that have it, but some of them are really obvious grifters.
Oh yeah, definitely.
With it, and some of them won't even lie about being grifters. Like the quartering is going to be in that Ninja Turtles video is famously saying, yeah, I did all these videos and I got a nice big fat paycheck off of Captain Marvel. It's like,
oh my god.
All right, so you don't really give a shit about what you say either. It's just you're going to feed what your audience wants to hear. I mean,
yeah.
I guess your audience is that stupid.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
They just want to flush their money down the toilet, then that's their decision, I guess, right? So yeah, subscribe to the whole panel. Definitely Red is just now getting off the ground, so is Evans. And they're slow, but they're definitely worth the wait. Hashtag soon, right? But yeah, definitely like, share, subscribe this video, become a patron, give me Streamlabs money. Yay, support me, and thank you for watching. Bye.
If you're gonna do it, always do it snarky.
Special thank you to all my lovely patrons. I so appreciate your support. Also, make sure you like, share, and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can get notifications.